Okay, so just after 6 o'clock, I'd like to call the April 3rd meeting of the Springfield Police Advisory Committee meeting to order. Roll call.
One quick note to change, our counselor changed, and instead of Alan Stout, we have Michelle Weber. So welcome, Michelle. So Michelle is here. Josh Aguilar.
Here.
Daniel Davidson.
Here.
Cindy Koza.
Here.
Jonathan Hayes. Carla Berg. Dylan. Here. Adam Jenkins is excused. Brett Yancey.
Here.
Eric Adams.
Here.
I got everybody?
Carla said she's gonna zoom in.
Oh, okay. Michelle, do you want to give yourself a quick introduction to the committee?
Sure. I'm Michelle Weber, Springfield City Council Liaison to the SPAC. I switched with Alan for the BPAC committee. He's an avid bike rider and it just seemed like a really good fit for him. And so here I am and excited to be here to join all of you.
Well,
Thanks for joining.
And also one quick note, since our last meeting, we have a new chief of police.
Oh, yes.
We have a guest.
Yes.
Yes.
We have a guest.
do we have anyone in the public who would like to offer comments, either in person or online?
Let me turn on the raise hand function in case we do have one member there. And do you have the script part to read? No, if you didn't bring it, I can find it real quick. So public testimony will be received during the business from the audience. As a reminder, the meeting is being recorded. The committee will listen to your comments, but will not respond to public comment until the committee response portion of the meeting agenda. Meeting minutes will be taken by staff and forwarded to the city manager and city council. Members of the public can always send written testimony to the committee or the city council. As we begin our meeting tonight, I would ask members of the virtual audience to please keep yourselves on mute until you're called upon to provide public testimony. Speakers in person will be allowed to speak first, after which virtual audience members will be allowed to speak. Public testimony will allow speakers 2 minutes each for a total of 20 minutes. If you are joining us online with a tablet, smartphone, or computer and wish to speak, please use the raise hand feature to make the request. You will be called on when it is your turn to speak. Please identify your name, Springfield ward number, and the subject you would like to speak about. For people calling in by phone only, you are in listen mode only and cannot be called upon. So the raise hand function is on. I don't have any in-person speakers. And it doesn't look like we have any virtual speakers. Turn that function. All right.
Very good. And looks like I inadvertently skipped over actually our should have been our second agenda item, which is approval of the minutes from the February 6th. So everyone had a chance to review the minutes, the adjustments or edits. Okay, get a motion for approval, please. Second? Yes. Second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Raise your hand online if you aren't able to say nay. Carla, Cindy, did you vote in the affirmative?
Yay.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, unanimous. Okay, moving on then. Item number 5, business from Springfield Police Department. Rush.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here again. Michelle, again, thank you for joining us. This committee, it's great. Just to follow up from our last meeting, we did go over a couple of policies then, and there were a couple of changes that I said I was going to make, and we have made those changes in our policy that we talked about. So that's done. And then recently, actually, I think it was in March, early March, in order to meet some of our budget obligations, we did eliminate 2 non-sworn positions from the department. That was our public information coordinator and our public outreach coordinator positions. What we have done is basically redistributed those tasks back to people who did them before. Like Tiffany's doing some of our social media. Wendy, who I'm sure most of you have met before, she's doing some of the community outreach scheduling. We'll do our best to keep that to the same level, but with the removal of those 2 people, it may take a little bit longer for somebody to get back to you. There may be a couple of things that we can't attend that we did before, but we are really going to do our best to make sure that the impact of that is minimized as much as we possibly can. We also have on April 22nd at 3 o'clock, we have another hiring ceremony. So we've recently hired 3 lateral officers, 1 new police officer, 1 new detention officer, and then we'll be recognizing some internal promotions that we've done in our records division. It's not a promotion at Springfield to become a detective. It is an appointment. We've appointed 2 new detectives. And so that will all be recognized on April 22nd here in this room at 3 o'clock. So obviously those are great events. We love it. And since I've been here, we've had amazing support of people who show up, which I really appreciate. We will make sure that everybody gets sent out an invitation, but just as a heads up for you all, I know schedules fill up quickly. So the day before that is our volunteer appreciation luncheon on April 21st. So you'll all get an invite to that as well. And then I don't know if anybody does follow I'm sure most of you probably do follow our social media, but our K9 Nord retired last week. So Nord had been here for like, I think it's a long time for a police dog to be doing work. So he is now living with the Officer Douglas and his family. And that's where he will spend out the rest of his days being just a family dog. So, which I always love to see that, you know, they get to just go be dogs. They get to do what this guy has done his entire life. He is not a working dog. But yeah, so Nord was fantastic. He had, we were hoping that he could get a little bit longer, but we really don't want them to be like in any pain or anything like that. And the vet was like, it's time. So the plan is to go in September and go back down to, we get our dogs usually out of a place down in California. And so Sergeant Keatle and the canine handlers will go down there, select another dog. So that will mean that we have 3 basically brand new police canines because let's see, it's Poker and Taro are our 2 new ones. And they're both really new. They've only been on the street for a couple months. So we still have Kirby. Kirby's now the veteran dog, him and Officer O'Leary. And so hopefully we're back up to full speed with the canines. And then of course we have Cash, who's our yellow lab drug detection, like everybody's favorite dog during the canine competition. But hopefully that all works out.
Excuse me, will the new dog then go to Officer Douglas again then?
That's not 100% determined. It depends on if Officer Douglas wants to have another dog. They don't always want to.
Yeah.
And so that will be determined like as we get closer, depending on what he wants to do.
Okay.
There are definitely other officers who would like it because
sure.
it's kind of a cool
Yeah.
assignment to get. It's a lot of work. Like, I don't know if everyone knows, those dogs live with them. Like we have kennels installed in their houses and it's like a 24/7 operation. So, but yeah, he could, as we get closer to September, we'll know.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we put out a couple weeks ago, our crew, so Crime Reduction Unit, you stinker. He's like, hey, next to you. Our Crime Reduction Unit did another mission a couple weeks ago. I think we arrested 23 people. What we're seeing now in talking with a lot of the retailers and everything is that some of the more bold attempts at shoplift that we used to see, which is just like fill up your cart and walk right out the front door. They're not seeing those as much in the Springfield area because everybody knows that we are doing a lot of these missions. And obviously, if you get arrested for theft here, we have a jail that we take you to. And so what they're seeing now is the numbers of shoplifts have gone down, but the overall value of what people are stealing is also going down because they're more like concealing it as opposed to just putting, we still see it occasionally, but the whole big items being pushed out, that's lessening, which is great. That grant, we're hoping, because it's all grant funded to do these missions, is the legislature right now is deciding whether or not they're going to re-up that grant for next year, which we really hope they do, because we need the money, because these grants are all worked on overtime. So the officers come in on like their days off and work these missions. And we've had fantastic support from all of our retailers in the area. And from what I understand, the retailers they have seen significant declines, which is what we love to see. So hopefully that grant continues. It goes all the way through June, the funding does. So we'll keep doing those missions as long as we have the funding for it. So I'll keep you up to date though. If that grant, we will apply for it for sure, but I'll let you know if we get it and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's kind of our updates. We still have a few people in backgrounds for hiring and stuff like that, but I always want to say knock on wood, looking good right now. And so hopefully we can get those spots filled as well. So, yeah.
Questions from the chief? Anybody online?
I think Brett's got his hand up.
Brett, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I do, yeah, thank you. First of all, congratulations, Chief. I was very excited to hear the news, and we're excited to continue just working closely with the Springfield Police Department. My question is around the refilling of the deputy chief. Has any discussion or decision been made around that?
So my position right now, I'm interim chief. So I've had discussions with Nancy. I'm hopeful that that decision to make me permanent chief comes in the next couple of months. She'll make that decision and announce it. And like I said, I'm hopeful it works out that way. Hopefully I don't make any huge decisions or mistakes between now and when she decides to make it official. My preference would be to fill the deputy chief spot. We're still working through budget times and everything though. And so if the department were to have to make a significant cut, then we would have to look at that position. We don't have a lot of positions that aren't filled. So I don't necessarily want to have to cut officer positions. And so that would have to be something that we discussed. I don't anticipate that happening. I anticipate us being able to fill the DC spot.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Any other questions? Move on then. This is from the committee, starting with our scheduled policy review. 33.1.1 training.
Yeah, so this one, I'll just start, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
So I looked at this one and just what we've done is we now have kind of a training sergeant, which is listed here, training sergeant. But the duties of the training sergeant have kind of changed. So our training sergeant more coordinates, making sure everybody gets their mandatory training. They don't necessarily develop the training. So we have a firearms lead, we have a control tactics lead, EVOC, which is emergency vehicle operations, so police cars. We have a lead that does all of those things. So I sat down with our training sergeant, had him look at this, and he's like, there's some changes we need to make. Like if you look at the policy right there where it says section C, where it says the training sergeant shall, we have quite a few notes on how we need to update that to what the title is actually doing now. Like I said, they don't implement the trainings, they don't select the instructors. We have a different process for that now. That all has to go through the chief's office after they have a whole review of, if anybody wants to be an instructor here, you can put in a memo for if there's an opening for whichever team, like control tactics or firearms. And then the sergeant that leads that team, they have to do a whole kind of like mini background on you to make sure that you don't have any internal affairs investigations, you haven't had any previous discipline, there hasn't been any issues. Those now get recommended up to the chief, and then the chief makes the final decision on whether yes or no. So there's just some things that we will sit down and make changes to as far as who's responsible for what in this training, in this policy here. The kind of the information in it is accurate. It's just kind of who's doing what now has been changed a little bit, and we need to update that. I don't know if anybody had any questions on the policy, but we just need to make it more accurately reflect what we're doing. We're not training anything different. We haven't really added anything. We just need to make sure it's accurate.
I have a question.
Sure.
In section 33114, the training plan,
Yep.
some of them have scheduled, like some of them, and then some are not. Like, so why are there some that do not have regularly scheduled intervals?
So it just depends. So DPSST, so Department of Public Safety Standards and Training, they have, every officer has to, every 3 years, hit X amount of training. And we have to send all of that to DPSST, which is a responsibility of our training sergeant. And DPSST has some annual required trainings. So those, we always want to make sure that we put those in here so that we know that we hit those every year. And then, like, I have to have, as like in my position, I have to have X amount of hours of leadership training every 3 years, the officers, and in addition to all of these things. So sergeants have to have more training in certain things, lieutenants have to have more trainings and things. But the annual ones are the ones either DPSST has decided that we have to have every year, or as a department, we have decided that we need to have them every year.
So the ones that don't have an interval on them, are they ones that we have said we want to have, but like DPSST it's not part of that listing?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be DPSST, like you'll see like ethics training 1 hour annually. I believe that's like a DPSST requirement. High liability issues training, a lot of times that's like legal updates, that's not required. But
Okay.
that's something that if we can and we have the opportunity, we like to provide that to our officers as often as we can. So this is a list of things that we've come up with that we like our officers to be trained in. And the ones that are annually are the ones that we know we have to hit every year.
But the others are kind of, we'd like it, but we don't have to.
Yeah, and it just depends too on like how much training availability we have. The fewer officers we have, the harder it is to get everybody to training, because you don't have anybody to work those shifts when they're in training, or we have to pay them overtime to come to training. So,
Got
but
it.
there's ones we have to hit.
Understood. Thank you.
Any questions on that policy? 33.4.1 FTO program.
I didn't have any changes to this one. This one is, after we reviewed it, it's pretty accurate. I think it was recently reviewed. So I didn't see any changes. I double checked to make sure that, so the 17-week FTO program that you see there under the 34.4.1.2, section A, that's our FTO program. That is in addition to new officers that have to go to DPSST for their basic academy. So when you get here, then you have another 17 weeks where you're with a field training officer. So just so that was very, I mean, I think it's clear how it says that, but I just wanted to make make sure people were aware.
I had a question about item G.
Yep.
It kind of makes it sound like it's pass or fail. Is there any option for like remediation?
Oh, yeah. So like if you're, let's say you're phase 1 and, average phase 1 takes about 4 weeks. But let's say, you're progressing, but you're not quite there yet. Your field training officer can request an extension. They can say you're doing well, but you're just not quite ready to go to phase 2 yet. And they can do that all the way along. So probation can be extended. And there's different reasons. Somebody could get hurt and they're off for a couple weeks or something like that. But yeah, there's definitely, it does get to the point where if you're not progressing, then they would recommend, you don't continue to the next phase, and we would look at, whether or not this is suitable profession. But there's definitely ways. And we also have, like, if somebody's having a hard time, let's say driving and, because you got to drive and you're listening to the radio and your computer's telling you things at the same time and they're having trouble with that, their field training officer can recommend additional emergency vehicle operations training, and they would go back out with an EVOC instructor and practice those things.
Wonderful. Thank you.
the training sergeant conform with the FTO program includes, or how's that?
So like as far as like what they have to do. So we have, DPSSD has a manual. And so we kind of follow that manual. And it's, I don't know, it's about that, like that thick, and you have to go through and check off all these things. Then there's additional things that we also say that they have to pass, you know, like knowledge of our policies and procedures, different, they have to pass our control tactics, they have to pass our firearms. But the field training officer, we meet and then we kind of go over like, okay, these are the things that we want all of our officers to be, you know, proficient in. And so it's kind of he'll meet with the training sergeant, he'll meet with the chief's office, you know, obviously there's input from control tactics instructors. But yeah, there's a whole checklist that they have to go through.
So it's more comprehensive.
Oh, yeah. I should have brought the training manual up here so that you guys can, I have one on my desk if anybody's interested in seeing it. It's quite in depth what they have to do. Yeah, it's a lot. And they have to go through and then their FTO has to sign off on every section. And then once that's completed, we have to send that verification to the state that they have completed everything in this book. Yeah. It's all good.
Sorry. Trying to turn this on.
Any other questions on the FTO program policy? None, okay. Thank you for that information.
Yeah, I'll work on that training policy. Make those changes for you.
So that brings us to our last item on the agenda. We'll go our member information share opportunity. I'll just call in the order of members on the agenda, just for simplicity's sake. So, Josh, anything for you?
I have no information to share tonight. No.
Okay.
See, next would be Daniel.
Yes, I shared this with you last week, Chief, when we met, but I just want to say it in the ears of everybody else. Every time the new chief has come up to an officer, it's been positive response. And I'm encouraged with that. And I was reminded today, as yet another officer today shared positive feedback. I thought our chief has a lot of momentum out of the gate, you know, in this new post. And so I just want to share that.
Thank you.
And yeah, I think it's a great position to be in as a department.
Cindy, anything for you?
Yeah, I was just gonna share, as some of you know, I have that pottery studio on Main Street, and we had some theft there, and my manager was like very worried about it, and she talked to an officer, and just the whole process was very smooth and positive for her, which I was like, I don't know if they're gonna call her back because it's pottery, but they did, and it was like really a good experience, I think, for her. And then like on another level with the caregiving agency, we had tens of thousands of dollars stolen, and we were been working with a detective, and he's been really responsive, really easy to work with, like just overall really great experience for not so great things. So yeah, that's just been my experience like lately.
That's great, Cindy. Do you know which detective it is?
Antoine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just always like to tell them when I hear good things about them, so I'll let him know. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Carla. Anything for you?
A couple of meetings ago, we had talked about kind of, I can't remember how we broached the question, but how do we get people to keep their dogs on a leash, especially like in parks? And I spend a lot of time with my dogs in parks, with my dog. I said that plural. I don't know why, because I only have one. And I regularly see people with dogs off leash, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna ask a question. I'm like, I don't even sure what question to ask, how to broach that. So I realized that I'm not really clear on what it is that what we're after, and like what questions I should be asking, because part of it is, and for anybody, if anybody else is like an off leash person in this room, like I don't want to come at this combatively, but I feel kind of combative And I want to say to them, like, why do you think you get to be off leash? And so like, I figure if I have some good questions that I can come at them with so that we can get clarity around how to address it. If we talk about this as a group a little bit better, maybe I can get some clarity so that I can bring that back to this group clearer.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to bring that back up.
Well, I mean, you can see my dog laying in the middle of the screen. He's actually on a leash because I always have him on a leash. You know, I know that it is a complaint that is received a lot. And I know that we're gonna work on putting out some additional message as the weather gets nicer, and we're gonna be in conjunction, I think, with William Lane, and putting out messages, reminding people that even though your dog is very friendly, you don't know all of the dogs. And it's really a dangerous situation to put people in. It's, if you can jump in and correct me if I'm saying anything wrong. It's a dangerous situation to put people in, because when dogs, like if this dog here is gonna fight with another dog and you try to interrupt that, somebody's gonna get hurt. And I think if there's a way to message that, it's really not about trying to restrict your dogs. It's about safety, and there are places to take your dogs where they can be off leash, but on paths and in parks, it's really, really unsafe. So I'm
Right,
gonna,
and I'm in complete agreement, but it was, we had talked about something like getting clarity around like how to message to people, like, so like, and I'm in, again, I'm in complete agreement. So
Yeah.
is there something else that I should be saying outside of that?
I always, well, the police officer in me hesitates to tell you to walk up to somebody and say anything because you don't know what their reaction is gonna be. And so, I mean, I think the best thing is if you see that is to probably call. And, you know, then either a park ranger or an officer can go remind them. But I would hate to have you confront somebody and then they get mad. That's just my viewpoint on it. I don't know if anybody else shares anything different. It's, yeah.
From my own experience and that of my staff, our rangers, I can tell you that off-leash dogs are probably the top two complaints and park use issues that we get year-round. And of the interactions that they have with individuals, tend to be the most contentious. People get very defensive and entitled when it comes to whether or not they should be allowed to have their dog off leash and why. So I would definitely caution you.
Yeah.
Not engage, unless you realize and understand you may be getting a very negative response in turn. So, but it is something that we are regularly working on with the police department, and every year, this time of year, we reinvest in signage out in parks, social media campaign, and there's a varied and very valid reasons for why keeping your dog on leash is important from a public health standpoint, from a safety standpoint, a wildlife standpoint. There's just innumerable reasons. And I think what we've seen in other communities that have several off-leash dog parks, it's still an issue. So just the way it is.
Yeah.
Is there a number for Willamette Lane? Because most of the time, like I have an issue with it just because, like I've never been none of my dogs have ever been attacked. When I had my previous dog, we walked a lot. But I always know that it's a possibility. And I've never had an issue, but I know that it is. If I were to see a dog that was being problematic, is there a number at Willamette Lane that we could call to have a park ranger come out, or would we call the police department?
But you could go either way. I think with Willamette Lane, you can call the front desk at the Bob Kiefer Center, which that number is on our website. Or you can call our park reporting line, which I can give you now or at some other point, but
Is it on the website?
it probably is, but it's 541-736-4104. And our park rangers are, if it's on our property, they will always take an educational approach with the individual, unless it's someone we know is a repeat offender, so to speak. We have the opportunity to exclude individuals who don't abide by our park rules, and that would be one of the reasons we would do that. The additional thing, though, that patrol officers can do is cite someone for violating the municipal code, and that comes with a misdemeanor citation, I believe. So it carries a little bit more teeth than what we can do.
And I would always tell you too, if you think that it's actually like something's dangerous and it's gonna happen, just call us. You know, like if it really rises to that level. You know, I tell people like when I'm walking him and somebody will be like off leash, they'll say like, oh, my dog's friendly. And I'm always like, mine's not. You know, he's super friendly, but I mean, it's just a reminder to them, like, I don't want your dog to come up here. So, it's worked as far as like having people keep their dogs away. Just because I don't want to place him in that situation. So, but I wouldn't challenge anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the conversation.
Right, Terry, I think that brings us to you.
Yeah, I have two quick things. One is after the last meeting, and I told you how great my neighborhood was. My poor little 99-year-old mom had a homeless person come in her backyard and try to camp there.
Oh.
And it bothered her.
Mm-hmm.
And she did call the police and 2 officers, and I did not get their names. They were wonderful. They came out, removed her, and mom was all happy.
Oh, good.
So, but, and the second thing is Saturday night is the SACA Awards, the Springfield Arts and Cultural Awards. So just for everybody's information. So.
Right, your next up, anything for you?
Yeah, I'm walking around my backyard right now because it's a little chaotic in my house. So a couple of things. By the way, Chief, if you told me that dog was not friendly, I would believe you.
Yeah, it does have a tendency to make people pay attention.
Yeah, that's a large animal. Anyway, but he doesn't look very mean. So 2 things. One is we held a town hall forum at our Springfield High School with Representative Hoyle, and it was a great partnership between the police department and the school district. I think things went really, really well. Given all the other town halls that are happening around the nation, I felt like this one was probably a little more tame, and I really appreciate the cooperation. I know you guys had a very large presence there, which we appreciated. Mm-hmm. Second thing is we're as well going through our budget process, and similar to the city, and I think Willamette Lane, budgets are tight, but we are still uber focused on getting that 3rd SRO, and so I will be reaching out. I think I'm going to reach out to Crawley and start getting some financial information from him. But, you know, it obviously has to go through our budgeting process. But I just wanted to reinforce that we are still really invested in that 3rd SRO for more of the downtown corridor in that area. So we have not lost sight of that.
Okay. I'll let Crawley know to expect your call.
Yeah, for sure. And again, congratulations. And I think that's it. Eric, I think you I've been waiting all meeting to hear from you. So let's go.
Wow, no pressure there, Brett. Thanks. Yep, guess I'm last up. So couple things to share, I guess. One, and I think this is something that we've come aware of through just reporting to SPD. There's been a pretty significant increase in metal theft. It's my understanding within just the region, and unfortunately have heard the loss of multiple backflow devices from your irrigation systems and at other locations where those are installed to help regulate water flow. For us, they tend to be expensive replacements.
Yeah.
But, when you look at the damage that's done to the piping, and for what I understand is a very minimal amount of metal that can actually be recycled for small dollar amount. But we talked with colleagues at the city of Eugene as well as U of O, and they're seeing the same thing, wire theft up again. So something is happening within the markets. I don't know what that could be attributed to, but we're working hard to safeguard those, get things ready to be able to start watering grass here very near future. The other thing, I sure many of you have seen in the news of late is some of the service reductions, speaking of budget issues that Wyburn Clinic and Cahoots are having to navigate right now. And I was really pleased to see that the contribution from City of Springfield was, I'm assuming, going to be sustained going forward to maintain that level of service that we have with Springfield. It's very important for us.
Yeah.
That we run in the parks, so keeping my fingers crossed that that'll continue to be the case and that they can get that ship righted overall for their organization going forward, because it is a really critical need within the region to have that support when it's needed. But that's all I have.
Yeah, I will keep you all updated on Cahoots. When the county started their mobile crisis response, because that's required now by the state that counties provide that. We had split the cost of Cahoots with the county, so we paid for 12 hours a day, the county paid for 12 hours a day. When the county started their own program, we lost that 12-hour coverage, so we still pay for 12 hours. So they, I think it's like, don't quote me on the hours, I think it's 11 to 11 or 11 to 1, something like that, that we have Cahoots services here. And we hope to continue that. And then obviously it just depends on, other contributions to Cahoots as well as on whether or not Cahoots continues in general, but Springfield has committed to it for this next fiscal year.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of the agenda unless there's anything else to share. Thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you.
You're adjourned.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
See you.